You picked the wrong black woman to harass today. That's what was running through my mind, even as Officer Harris was yanking my arm back and snapping those metal cuffs on too tight, digging them into my skin until I could feel the blood pricking up underneath. Talking back to an officer, Captain Wilson sneered, looming over me like he expected me to break. That's how people like you end up with problems. I looked him right in the eye, not saying a word, just memorizing his badge number, his name tag, even the ugly mole above his left eyebrow. They rifled through my pockets, tossed my wallet, keys, and phone into an evidence bag. But they didn't find what was really important, the tiny Militera communicator stitched right into my jacket lining. Get her in the car, Wilson barked. A night in holding should fix that attitude. They shoved my head down and stuffed me into the back seat of their cruiser. If only they had a clue who they'd just arrested. Fluorescent lights flickered as I stood for my mug shot. The stink of sweat and bleach in the air. Name? The booking officer didn't bother to look up. Victoria Taylor. Address? Maple Avenue, Westfield Heights. That got his attention, a black neighborhood he'd clearly heard about. I pressed my thumb on the scanner, black ink sticking to my skin. Behind me, Wilson and Harris were already yucking it up by the water cooler. Another one from that neighborhood. Thinks she's special, Harris said, making sure I heard. Had to put her in her place? Wilson replied, smug as ever. I just let the words hang in the air and locked every face in that room into memory. One call. Make it count. The booking officer grunted. I dialed a number from memory. Not my lawyer. Not family, straight to the Pentagon. Operations Center. Authorization code Tango Delta 794. I said, initiating protocol oversight Delta. Location transmitting. Silence. Then confirmed. General Taylor. Response team deploying. Timeline, 43 minutes. I hung up just as Councilman Bennett strutted into the station. Championship ring glinting. Suit screaming money. Another troublemaker? He demanded. Wilson nodded like a lapdog. Just processing her now? Sir. Good. These checkpoint resistors need consequences. They led me to a holding cell. Metal bench bolted to the floor. 9:17 p.m. I glanced at the clock. In 43 minutes, the world would look pretty different. Let me back up a sectwo hours earlier. The sun was painting Westfield Heights in orange and gold as I drove my old sedan out of the city and toward Greenfield's leafy suburbs. That's when I saw the blue lights checkpoint ahead. I rolled down my window. Calm. I'd done nothing wrong. Should have been in and out in seconds. Officer Harris. Flashlight in my face. License and registration. I moved slowly, careful, and asked, what's this checkpoint for? Officer? Routine. Just show me your ID. He took my license, made a show of radioing it in. Westfield Heights resident, he said, glancing up, like he was reading a warning label. I noticed the emphasis. Is there a problem with my identification? I asked. Wait here. He sauntered back, showed my license to another officer. They both looked over at me, grinning. Then Captain Wilson showed up, big guy, hand on his holster, all fake authority. Step out of the vehicle. Ma'am, may I ask why? I kept my voice steady. My license is valid. Step out now. Enhanced search protocol. I knew the law-enhanced search meant reasonable suspicion. What's your suspicion? Captain? Out of the car. He barked. I got out. Slow and careful. I'd like a note, this appears to be selective enforcement. We decide what's selective. He snapped. Hand on the hood. I declined consent to search my vehicle without probable cause. I said, as calm as I could. Harris moved in, mocking me. Look at the lawyer, here thinks she knows the law. I'm familiar with my Fourth Amendment rights. Wilson scowled. Your kind always want to make things difficult. My kind? I raised an eyebrow. Troublemakers, he said, but we both knew what he meant. Other drivers were watching, some with their phones out. Wilson waved another officer over, no recordings. Move these cars through. Officer Davis went around, making people put away their phones. Last chance? Wilson said, like he was doing me a favor. Consent to search or face obstruction charges. I respectfully decline and request a supervisor. I said, I'm his supervisor. He snapped and nodded to Harris. Detain her. Harris grabbed my arm, twisting. Stop resisting, he yelled. But I wasn't resisting. I'm not resisting, I said. Loud enough for their body cam except I noticed Harris's was suddenly off. Your body camera appears to be malfunctioning. Officer Harris, I said, mind your own business. He snapped, twisting harder. I could have dropped both of the military training never leaves you, but that wasn't why I was here tonight. I'll be filing a formal complaint, I said. Wilson just laughed. Good luck with that. Councilman Bennett ran this whole show. Your complaint goes straight to his trash can. My watch was pressed tight against my skin. Military device recording everything. Search the car. Wilson barked at another officer. Sir, without a warrant, we have checkpoint authority under City Ordinance 27-9. He interrupted. Signed by the council last month. I knew that ordinance. I knew exactly who pushed it through. Find anything? Clean. Sir. Check under the seats. These Westfield people always hiding something. I pressed a button on my watch. GPS tracker activated. Now, the Pentagon knew my exact location. Nothing. Sir. Wilson turned back to me, disappointed. Well, you're still interfering. That's obstruction. Citing constitutional protections isn't obstruction, I said, and now arguing with an officer cuffer. The cuffs went on too tight. Of course. Victoria Taylor. You're under arrest for obstruction and resisting a lawful checkpoint inspection. The satisfaction in his voice that you know what I mean? I saw a young woman in a nearby car. Phone out. Recording. Our eyes met just for a second. But enough. You have the right to remain silent. Wilson started. I'm aware of my Miranda rights. I said, I assume you're transporting me to the Greenfield station. That threw him for a second. That's right. I'll need my phone call when we arrive. You'll get what we decide to give you, Harris said, shoving me into the cruiser. As we pulled away, I saw Davis waving another Westfield Heights driver over for screening. Meanwhile, 3 cars with white drivers rolled right through. They dragged me into an interrogation room that smelled like old coffee and pine sol. Metal table bolted down. Handcuffs still biting my wrists. 2 hours passed before Wilson finally showed up with a thin folder. First time being educated about checkpoint compliance? He sneered. I'd like to speak to an attorney. I replied. Soon enough. He circled the table, trying to look intimidating. We have a problem in this town. People who don't respect authority. People who think rules don't apply to them. He flipped open my wallet. Interesting ID you got here. He pulled out my military ID. Snorted. Marine Corps General. 4 stars. Nice fake. That's authentic, I said, keeping my voice level. Right. And I'm his Secretary of Defense. His phone buzzed. Our concerned citizen is here. He smirked and left. I could hear Bennett's voice through the wall. Cold and bored. Another one from that neighborhood? Gave us the usual constitutional speech. Had a fake military ID. Military? What branch? Marines. Claims to be a general. Get what you need and process her. Make an example. These checkpoint resistors are undermining the whole program. Wilson came back with Harris. Sign this confession. Misdemeanor. You'll be out by morning. I didn't even touch the paper. I'll need my attorney before signing anything. Harris loomed behind me, big and threatening. Captain asked you nicely, and I respectfully declined. You people from Westfield Heights think you're special. Wilson said. Councilman Bennett's checkpoint program has cut crime by 30%. By targeting specific neighborhoods? I asked. By enforcing the law where it needs enforcing. Selective enforcement isn't legal enforcement. I replied. Harris pressed down hard on my shoulders. I believe this interview is over until my counsel arrives, I said, not flinching. Wilson kicked my military ID to the floor and stomped on it. This little costume doesn't impress me. Right then, a knock at the door. Detective Morales entered. Eyes sharp. Captain. A moment outside. Harris didn't like it, but he left. Morales picked up my ID, turned it over in his hands. Captain, this ID has all the proper security features. It's a good fake, Wilson said. No, sir. I served. This is genuine. Morales turned to me. May I ask your name and rank? General Victoria Taylor, United States Marine Corps. Morales straightened like someone hit a button in his spine. Wilson sputtered, but then Councilman Bennett burst in, demanding to know what was taking so long. Morales stood his ground. If we've detained a military general improperly, we're in violation of department policy. If, Bennett said, Captain, finish processing. Detective, you're needed elsewhere. Sir, standard protocol requires we verify her identity. Standard protocol is what I say it is. Bennett leaned in. This program is essential to Greenfield's safety. Just then, the phone at the front desk started ringing one line, then another, then every phone in the building. Wilson answered, looking pale. The Pentagon is asking about a General Taylor. Bennett waved it off. Probably a prank. But then Wilson came back, shaken. That was Colonel Jackson from the Pentagon Military Police. They confirmed her identity. They're sending representatives here. Now. That's when the panic started. Bennett wanted me released, blame the officers. Blame the protocols. Just contain this mess. Morales quietly unlocked my cuffs. My apologies, General, he whispered, real respect in his voice. Within minutes, Colonel Jackson walked in with a team, badges gleaming. General Taylor. He saluted. Thank you for the prompt response. Colonel. The police station turned into a military command center. Screens lighting up. Files pulled. Conference room filled with evidence. Bennett and Wilson got quieter and paler by the second. As I stood at the head of that table watching their faces as the red dots on the map clustered over Westfield Heights. As body cam footage rolled. As emails showed quotas and racial profiling, I felt something shift in the room. Detective Morales detailed his own investigation. How complaints disappeared. Videos deleted. Arrest numbers massaged to keep Bennett happy and developers hungry for cheap property. You'll have your day in court, I told Bennett, as his attorney finally showed up. After we complete this interview. Wilson and Harris sat stone-faced, knowing what was coming. The investigation moved from accusation to prosecution before the sun came up. Weeks later, I sat in front of Congress, for stars on my shoulders, laying out the evidence how local power games and racism got repackaged as public safety. I watched as they passed the Equitable Enforcement Act, creating new rules so what happened in Greenfield couldn't happen again. Back in Westfield Heights, at a community meeting, an older woman came up to me. You're the general who brought down those checkpoints, aren't you? She said. My grandson lost his scholarship because of what they did. He's back in college now. Thanks to you. I told her, most people can't use rank or privilege to protect their rights. The system should work for everyone. She smiled. He wants to be a lawyer now. Somebody's got to protect the community. He's right, I said. Knowing your rights is the first step to defending them. Driving out of Greenfield. Checkpoint gone. Families walking free. This is what real security looks like. No harassment. No intimidation. Just dignity and equal protection for everybody. So, let me ask you, what does justice mean in your community? Have you ever seen a system work against the people it claims to serve? Drop your story in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from. Justice takes work. And sometimes, it takes someone refusing to be quiet. If this story moved you, hit like, share it with a friend, and let's keep the conversation going about what's right, what's fair, and what needs to change.